Hello there and welcome to another Gotham Talk episode. We're looking at episode 3 of season 1. This one's called The Balloonman. I wasn't actually looking forward to watching this episode again because the first time I saw it, I didn't like it at all. I just thought it was stupid. I thought the idea of this guy who attaches weather balloons to people and sends them up into the air, was a ridiculous murder weapon. And even Alfred in the episode calls it out, when there's a report about it on the news, and he says to Bruce, I can think of easier ways to kill people. And so, even the makers of this episode know how stupid that kind of concept is, I guess. But, once again, as with the first 2 episodes, I think I was maybe a bit unfair on it overall. I think the first time round when I saw it, if you'd have asked me, I'd probably given it like a 2 out of 5. But it's a lot better this time round. There's enough in there to warrant giving this a repeat viewing, Again, the relationship between Bullock and Gordon, I really like. You got Bullock, who's just he's like a bull in a china shop, And when they're looking for information, they go across the city, asking prostitutes and snitches and this and that, and he's just beating his way through them all. And he's definitely not entirely on the level. But Gordon again, I still like. Now, in this episode, I did feel that Robin Lord Taylor, who plays Oswald Cobblepot, was overdoing it a bit. He was overacting. And I think a lot of that as well is also down to the script and the direction. He's given certain things to say in this that I think would be hard for any actor to pull off, to be honest. Like one moment when he first gets back to Gotham and he sees all this seedy stuff going on and crimes being committed, and then he looks into camera and he's like, home, I'm home, something like that. But it was a really cheesy line of dialogue, and he wasn't quite able to pull it off without it feeling a bit too pantomime, I guess. And that's kind of how I feel about him in this episode many times, is it feels a bit too pantomime. Another moment when this guy spots him and recognises him, and he's going to take him to Fish Mooney, and Taylor's reaction to that, Oswald Cobblepot's reaction to that, just seems a little bit too over the top. It isn't enough to derail it or make me not want to watch him, but I think this is very early on in the series, let alone the season. So I think he's probably still finding his feet a little bit, trying to figure out what works, how far you can go, and that. So I hope he tones it down a bit. Fish Mooney as well is another one who it didn't seem to bother me first 2 episodes, but in this one I noticed her speech a lot more. The way she talks, the way she carries herself, the cadence in her voice. It's this kind of slow. It's like, I guess when I watch Fish Mooney in this, I have a real hard time imagining why Falcone would ever keep this woman on board. He clearly knows she's bent. He kind of, without out and out saying it, he kind of recognises that she could very well be the one who's up to misdeeds behind his back. And the way that she speaks to him in this kind of this weird voice that she puts on, it's there's no sincerity there. You can tell that she's insincere. So right at the bat, she's giving herself away. She's saying everything but not saying anything, and I have a hard time buying that she would still be alive at this point, given some of the stuff she's done. But I guess from Falcone's perspective, while he suspects deeply that it's her, he doesn't actually have any hard evidence, and he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who acts without hard evidence. So, and the flip side to that in this episode is that we get Maroney. Sal Maroney is in this episode. Now I'm still getting used to the actors' names on this one. David Zayas. I actually like this guy quite a lot as Sal Maroney. He's the rough and ready crime boss, the street thug crime boss, to Falcone's kind of more gentleman, operatic, higher class crime boss, if you will. That they're still both scumbags at the end of the day, but they have different approaches. And yeah, I like the way that this guy plays Maroney. Two very different sides of the same coin. Another one in this, again, stand out is the girl who plays Selena Kyle, Cameron Bicondova. I'm still getting used to that name. Bicondova, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, she's really good in this. She doesn't have as big a part in this episode as she did in the previous one, which obviously was about her. But the bits that she gets, I like the attitude she gives. I like the way she plays with Gordon. I like the way that she's kind of, she's a bit of a street urchin. She's a player. She knows how to duck and dive. She's gotten used to it, having lived on the streets, and I think the actress portrays that very well. Beyond that, I think the villain is a bit silly, mainly because of his methods. I don't mind the actor who plays him. I think he does a perfectly fine job, and I do kind of like how it sets Bruce Wayne on a particular path. There's throughout this episode, Alfred's trying to get him to eat, and he won't eat. And it's only when he's seen this guy on telly, the reports about this vigilante and how it's most likely going to inspire more vigilantes, and that kind of sets off a switch in Bruce's head. You can see it, and that's when he picks up the fork and starts to eat again. You feel like the seed has been sown there. Vigilante, that's my answer. It's not quite as romantic or nostalgic, I guess, as the grey ghost that they had in Batman the Animated Series, and how that influenced a young Bruce Wayne. But it's a step in the direction, I guess. So yeah, I like that as a moment. Again, I like Alfred here. Just the way he's trying to pep Bruce up, and the way he does a sword fight with him in this, that was quite entertaining. But yeah, I give this episode 3.5 out of 5. It's good. It's slightly better than good, actually. Simply because I don't remember it being good at all first time around. So how wrong I was. 3.5 out of 5 from me. But what about you? If you're a fan of Gotham, what do you think of this episode? I'm choking on a peanut, so I'm going to have to go now. But yeah, let me know down below what you think. And until next time, crack in.